Welcome to LIVELab, a unique research center and performance space.
Why do we spend so much time and resources on musical activities? This is one of the basic questions that we are addressing in the LIVELab.
Laurel is one of the world's leading experts in auditory cognition, auditory development, which is really work that I wanted to do. The LIVELab is also a really innovative and special kind of facility that they don't have anywhere else in the world.
I combined my knowledge of music with my knowledge of science to contribute to our understanding of why we have music and how we can harness music to improve people's lives and people's health.
We're really very musical beings, and the fact that we actually know very little of what it actually does to our brains is outrageous. I mean, it's just such an important part of human society. Working with Laurel meant working at the LIVELab, and the LIVELab is just such a fascinating facility. You know, it's like the pinnacle of modern engineering, of music and neuroscience. So this is why the LIVELab is so important for us, for people.
LIVELab is one of the only facilities that can capture data in a multitude of ways.
There's labs that do motion capture, there's labs that do EEG, but this is the lab that does motion capture, physiology on the audience, physiology on the musicians, motion capture on the musicians, acoustic manipulations, all at the same time.
So in this space, we have 26 cameras. We can put little reflective markers on people's bodies, and the cameras emit infrared light, and from that we can recreate three-dimensional models of how everyone is moving. Not only with the musicians on the stage, but we can do it with the whole audience. So how do people move in response to music, and how are you affected by other people?
Any sound that you make inside of the LIVELab hits an absorber first thing, and then it's gone.
The LIVELab also has precise control of the acoustic environment.
So we have installed an artificial system, a virtual acoustic system. There's 28 microphones up there and about 75 speakers, and the microphones pick up the sound that you or I make inside of the room, and then it goes through a signal processing array in the back room where reverberations and early reflections are generated in order to simulate whatever acoustic environment we want.
With the flip of a switch, we can be in a dry acoustic, or we can be in Carnegie Hall, or we can be in a very reverberant cathedral. We also have in the space electroencephalography, or EEG, so we can measure brain waves in musicians as they interact, and we can figure out, for example, how does a musician predict not only what they're going to play next so they can plan the motor movement, but what's their partner going to do next. When musicians are really in the groove, we're figuring out what their brains need to do to achieve that. We can also measure EEG in audience members, so we can tell when people are bored and falling asleep in real time. We can tell what excites them. We can tell what they're processing and what they're not processing. And so this information can answer questions for musicians, like when are you reaching the audience? When are you getting that interaction from them? What does it look like? How can you modify what you're doing to improve the communication?
How this helped us communicate with the audience is that we believed we needed to first learn how to communicate with each other. If we could heighten the senses of what allowed us and enabled us to play with conviction, with the trust that we had the support of our colleagues, we would be better able to externalize this and to send the message out. And this is what is the energy of the exploration that is housed in this place.
I hope more performing ensembles will want to come here and explore the possibilities, both in terms of how an experience and experiment here will enhance how they experience themselves as performers, with each other, with the audience, and with how they think about their performance.
When we last performed here, I left totally inspired by LIVELab itself and this particular auditorium acoustic environment as sort of creative fodder. So usually I'm just working with a piano, and I might think as I'm writing about the players I'm going to be working with and recording with and writing for them and playing to their strengths and their uniqueness. And this was the first time I left with a whole room in mind as a source of inspiration for new work. You know, knowing that the engineer and the room become members of the band. And then I was given, through performing in the space, the opportunity to sample the various manipulations, the various palettes that they have, that they can create through the unique acoustical setup they have here. And it has emotional impact. And so suddenly the breadth of experience that we could have on stage, and I imagine the breadth of experience for audience members, became so much bigger and greater.
We wanted to not only understand how music affected an individual person, but we wanted to understand the power of music in human interaction. One of our studies has been to look at music in babies, to look at the effects of moving in synchrony with another person. So when we hear music, we tend to move in sync with the music, and what that means is we're moving in sync with other people. And when you move in synchrony with other people, it turns out that you trust them more, you are more likely to befriend them, you'll cooperate more with them and show more altruistic behaviors towards them.
There's nothing like this that I know of in the world. And having this space and these scientists and the potential for research and collaboration can open up doors to a whole new area of understanding. I always think in terms of clinical work, because there's so much that science can help in that arena. And LIVELab is so unique because it's the only place that allows this type of research to take place. Each of us in our own professions do research, but we're looking at one small area. When scientists and clinicians combine, we're able to inform a greater audience and have a greater impact.
Collaborations are key to translating LIVELab research into clinical practice.
Music is one of the ways that you can help Parkinson's patients to walk better. And one of the ways in the LIVELab that we are studying this is to create avatars using our motion capture capability here. We're starting to understand in the brain how this is occurring. And it has to do with the fact that when you listen to music or something with a beat, you want to move to the beat. The reason for that is when you hear something with a rhythm, not only is your auditory cortex innervated, but also motor regions of the brain are also activated.
I freeze, I fall down, I lose balance, and what I'm doing by listening to music, I'm trying to control those misdirecting signals to the brain that are causing the problem. Rhythm helps me coordinate my limbs and correct or adjust the impact of the Parkinson's.
LIVELab is currently developing and evaluating new technologies for health.
We can actually do great science here that benefits people who have an impairment.
One of the difficulties that people with hearing aids have is that although the hearing aid works pretty good in the audiologist's office for improving speech perception, once the person is in a big room with lots of other people, the hearing aids don't work so well. All right, so let's do the sentences and talking again. We have specialized equipment here that allows us to simulate what the hearing aid user is hearing in different environments, and we can try to improve on how the hearing aid works.
The dog played with the stick. It's so rewarding. The knowledge that you were able to do something which actually made a difference. That's why not only have I made an investment, but I've also become involved in LIVELab as an advisor to Dr. Laurel Trainer, and we have a committee that is trying to come up with new products, new processes, new programs that can be used by the hearing instrument industry and by audiologists when they are measuring and diagnosing hearing impairment.
Our funders and donors are critical to continuing our important work.
This is an international destination that artists and performers of all different disciplines, people who want to sharpen their skills in communication, people who just want to learn more about how they can be effective in their passion, in their work, in their careers, even in their families.
It's important for people to not only support the work, but also to help fund it because of the potential of what it offers all of us as scientists and clinicians.
We're only now beginning to understand how music affects the brain, how it affects the body. And so we really need to do this research to benefit everyone.